Here we go. So today's topic is a veil of darkness shall cover the earth, and that comes from Moses 71:61. And then the question we're going to answer, one of the questions we're going to answer today is, what appearance is this? So we'll go to the next slide and we're going to I'm kind of going to give a little preview.
Okay.
So the question that we just asked is, what appearance is this? We're going to answer that today. Two, the blood moon as opposed to the moon being darkened. So we're going to consider what constitutes the blood moon and what constitutes the moon being darkened.
So those are two distinct um, appearances of the moon, huh?
Well, I think one comes first and then it grows out of the other.
Okay.
Okay. Three, how this darkness relates to the rainbow's disappearance.
Okay.
Four, how darkness relates to the parable of the 10 virgins.
Hmm.
And what the lighting will be like when the Lord makes his appearance to the Jews. And then more on the Feast of Tabernacles.
Okay.
So we'll go to this slide. And what we have here, we have Revelation over here and DNC, you know, 88, 70, 87 to 93. And these are kind of the same thing. And when you mesh them together, they fit like that, they
Right.
just come together, and because they're talking about the same thing, you're just getting a little different version from DNC 88 than you get from Revelation 6:12 through 17.
Okay.
So um would you read the red for us in DNC 88 there?
All right. For not many days hence, and the earth shall tremble and reel to and fro as a drunken man, and the sun shall hide his face, and shall refuse to give light, and the moon shall be bathed in blood.
Okay. And then on the other side, Uh, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon as blood. So, what we learn from over here in Revelation is that this is still the sixth seal.
Okay.
Okay. So, Christ hasn't come yet, you know,
Right.
but this whole sequence of events here is about to unfold. So, uh, starting with 88 through 92, Tom, would you read that?
You want me to read the ones that are in black?
Yep, this area right over here.
Okay.
Yep.
And after your testimony cometh wrath and indignation upon the people. For after your testimony cometh the testimony of earthquakes, that shall cause groanings in the midst of her, and men shall fall upon the ground and shall not be able to stand. And also cometh the testimony of the voice of thunderings, and the voice of lightnings, and the voice of tempests, and the voice of the waves of the sea heaving themselves beyond their bounds. And all things shall be in commotion, and surely men's hearts shall fail them, for fear shall come upon all people. And angels shall fly through the midst of heaven, crying with a loud voice, sounding the trump of God, saying, prepare ye, O inhabitants of the earth, for the judgment of our God is come. Behold, and lo, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him.
Okay, so when you look at this over here and you see the king men and the great men and the rich men and the captains and mighty men and bondsmen, all these different people uh, are saying, you know, the great day has come. Who is able to stand? They're it's because all this is going on.
That makes sense.
Okay. It's leading up to something. And in fact, it leads up to verse 93 over here. And immediately after shall appear a great sign in heaven, and all people shall see it together. What sign would that be?
Well, I presume you're referring to the great sign of the Son of Man in heaven,
Yes.
the return of the city of Enoch.
Yes. Uh-huh. So that is the sign. So, like I say, this all fit together. And but this is, I think, early on in the process, at least the part about the blood moon, okay?
Okay.
So now let's go to Moses, and this is we've been to here before, Moses 7 and verse 61. And the day shall come that the earth shall rest, but before that great day the heavens shall be darkened, and a veil of darkness shall cover the earth. So you don't have a red moon there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in Joseph Smith Matthew, and the sun shall be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. So now the moon's not giving her light. What changed?
Well,
It's not red. What changed?
I guess it's completely dark.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to go back one slide because there's something here. It tells us every mountain and island. Wow, good job there, huh? Every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And so that would, can you consider that every mountain and island around the globe, you know, is shaken? Would that cause volcanoes to set off, do you think?
It'd be a pretty scary time.
Yeah, it would. But if volcanoes would contribute to the darkness,
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
okay? But when the darkness first starts, it's not that bad. But you've got a blood moon that is seen all around the world. We
Okay.
see we see blood moons now, but they're not global in nature. But I believe this one will be. And so really, the difference between blood moon and the moon being dark is just progression
Okay.
in
Uh,
time.
I can see
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But of
Uh,
course, if it says the sun shall be darkened, um, well, I guess that could be from atmospheric conditions here, or if something were to actually reduce the radiance of the sun, then the moon is going to be naturally affected because the moon reflects the light of the sun.
right. Right. But everything that's indicated here is that it's something on the earth.
Okay.
So, and I think Joseph Smith actually said that somewhere, but I didn't dig that out.
Okay.
Let's move to the next. Okay, this is one of the times that Joseph Smith talked about the rainbow. Okay,
Okay.
and he says, "The Lord hath set the bow in the cloud for a sign that while it shall be seen, seed time and harvest, summer and winter shall not fail. But when it shall disappear, woe to that generation, for behold, the end cometh quickly." So the way because of these quotes from Joseph Smith, the way we tend to look at this is that it's sort of calendar related. It's like, okay, we're in, 2026, and somebody somewhere on the earth saw a rainbow.
Okay.
Does that mean that Christ can't come that year?
Uh,
That's kind of everybody's thinking,
yeah.
as
Yeah.
members of the church, at least.
Okay.
Outside the church, they don't have this Joseph Smith quote, right?
Right.
Okay. But actually, anytime but this is not saying in the year that no, he won't come in the year. He's just saying that that when it happens, uh, leading up to that, you'll have harvest and summer and winter, and things will be good. But when it will disappear, woe to that generation. For behold, the end cometh quickly.
Well, so does that mean that it will disappear from that moment until the end is completely occurred,
I,
or
I,
does it mean that it will disappear, be gone for a while, and then come back, but then the end is still coming quickly after that?
yes. Well, I'm saying it's caused by the all this stuff in the atmosphere. Okay.
Right.
And so when the atmosphere clears up, we'll start to see rainbows again.
Okay, but the
Okay.
sign will have been given.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Okay.
but I mean, do we ever see a rainbow at night when it's dark?
No,
Do we see a rainbow when we got a storm and everything is overcast? Do we see it?
no.
No. We have to get a break in the clouds
Right.
and we have to have rain,
Okay.
right? Those we have to have those two conditions. So it's not any, it sort of just goes along with the natural, what would you say? It's not supernatural, you know, it's just, it's caused by all the stuff in the atmosphere. So let's go on to DNC 133 here. And this is talking about, it says up here, and it shall be said, who is this that cometh down from God in heaven with dyed garments, yea, from the regions which are not known, clothed in his glory, traveling in the greatness of his strength? Okay, so that gives you the context. Okay, that's the return of Christ. Okay,
Okay.
and it says, and so great shall be the glory of his presence that the sun shall hide his face in shame, and the moon shall withhold its light, and the stars shall be hurled from their places. So this is another place where it talks about darkness. It's the wording's different, but he just says that the sun's not going to give its light and the moon's not going to give its light. And then over here in verse 56, this tells us when this is. It says, when he shall stand upon Mount Zion and the holy city, New Jerusalem.
Okay.
So this is all associated with his first appearance.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's see, let's go to the next slide. Now we have Matthew 25, which is the parable of the 10 virgins, right?
Right.
And part of them have oil in their lamps. Maybe they've all got some oil, but they don't have oil to spare. Okay, and so half of them don't have it, and they don't know if they're going to have it when he comes, and so they have to go out and find their oil. Okay, and
Correct.
while they're gone, the bridegroom comes, but he comes at midnight. Well, it's dark at midnight, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
So even though this is in parable form, I mean, after all the bridegrooms, I mean, the virgins represent the church, and the bridegroom is Christ. Okay, and so this telling you that when he comes, it'll be dark.
You think that this is the Lord giving a clue to us that that's how the appearance is going to be at that time that he
Well,
comes?
yeah, well, I'm saying, well, we've got these other scriptures that we've been reading, but even when he gives it in parable, he makes the point that that's going to be dark.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So now here's the really interesting here in Zachariah, because we get a lot of really good information here. So would you read the first 5 verses for us?
Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go through and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azal. Yea, ye shall flee like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee.
Okay, so this is talking about the Lord coming to the Jews. Okay, obviously.
Right. Okay.
And in that little bit of red right there, and all the saints with thee. Okay. So how are we going to get there? What do you suppose will be our ride?
Well, the way I've always read it before is that this is referencing the coming of the Lord with all the saints in the city of Enoch, and where it says in Jude, uh, the only chapter of Jude, verse 14, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints or something like that.
Okay. Okay. But you said, and the city of Enoch. So I'm saying I don't think we're just going to be hanging out in the air. I think we'll have a ride.
You're saying that this includes not only the exalted saints already, but the saints on earth, us, if we're worthy.
Yeah. 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 But and all the saints, because this is his second appearance. He's already come to the first. Okay. And gather. We've discussed this in the previous video, how the Lord sends his angels out to gather all the saints to be there.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll read verses 6 and 7. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. As opposed to all the what happens in his first appearance being dark, now there's going to be light at evening time. And what does that remind you of? Maybe,
Right. The,
maybe,
the birth of Christ in the Book of Mormon.
yeah, and Samuel the Lamanite, right?
Right.
Because he says 5 years before it happens, he gives a prophecy. He tells them to the day when this is going to happen.
Hmm.
Okay, and as they get closer to that day, Nephi's getting really nervous because the bad guys are always all saying, "If this doesn't happen on time, we're gonna kill you." Okay,
Right.
so he's sweating blood and he's on his knees and he's praying to the Lord, and the Lord says, "Ah, don't sweat it, Nephi. Tonight I come into the world." Okay.
Okay.
So what this is saying is that that same sign that happened at his birth happens when he comes to the Jews later on. So there's that sign when he comes to the Jews as the babe of Bethlehem, and the
Right.
sign repeats when he comes to them at Jerusalem at the second coming.
History repeats itself in the Lord's ways. Oh,
Yeah.
which reminds me, I don't know what this means, but we know that there's the coming of the Son of Man will be preceded by the light that men will think it's a comet, says
Hmm.
Joseph Smith, and at the time of Jesus' birth, there was a light that was you could compare it to a comet or a star or whatever, uh,
Hmm.
which would be if the coming of the uh, that sign at the end is the coming of the city of Enoch. It makes you wonder if the city of Enoch wasn't bending near the earth at the time of his birth and then retreating back into whatever place it is at this time.
And that's totally possible. Yeah.
Well, since we're having another repeat here, with the same
Yeah.
thing, the day and the night, the day and the night and the day with light, continual light, um, at the end of the earth, as it was at the time of the birth of Christ. Uh, Maybe there's other things that are repeating as well.
Okay.
Just
So
just a thought.
okay. That's great. I'm gonna move forward here.
Okay.
Okay. Would you read verses 8, 9, and 10 for us?
And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. In summer and in winter shall it be. And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day there shall be one Lord, and his name one. All the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananeel unto the king's winepresses.
And read 11.
And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited.
Okay. So here down here in verse 9, the Lord tells us that this time he will become king of the earth in that day, and there shall be one Lord and his name one. So it's telling us when he comes to the Jews, he's taken over to the
Right.
whole earth. Okay. And then verse 11 confirms that there's not going to be any more battles or destruction on Jerusalem after Christ comes.
Yeah.
Okay. Which if you who is it? Let me think here. Penrose, Charles
Oh,
W. Penrose, he gives us three events leading up to the second coming,
okay.
and in the third appearance, he's still talking about war and all this tragic stuff going on and so forth and so on. So he gets it right when he's talking about the Lord's first appearance and second appearance, but in the third appearance, it's not scriptural because that just what we read there in the red just proved it.
So he says there still will be wars after the third appearance.
Well, destruction, yeah, and all these things going, but here it tells us no, no, no. When the Lord comes to the Jews, we're done with all of that. His second coming is mostly complete. We've still got one more event, and we'll talk about that in another one of our recordings. So if you would start reading at verse 12.
How far do you want me to go?
Let me just go and I'll stop you.
And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord shall smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. And so great shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents, as this plague.
Okay. So after the Battle of Armageddon, there's going to be all this valuable stuff, I guess, because the and then it mentions the heathens. So it sounds to me like the heathens are going to play quite a role, in coming up against Jerusalem.
Okay.
And there's going to be, you got 200 million. So imagine all of the all of the leftover. I think in another place, it might be Ezekiel, it says they'll have fuel for 7 years, you know.
Hmm.
And so there's all of this that goes on uh, after the battle. And then I'm gonna read starting at 16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that's left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So after Christ comes to the Jews, then every year these people are expected to come back and to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay.
How long do you think that will continue?
I don't see an end to it.
Okay, so throughout the millennium?
Um, well, maybe we need to I have to think about that, uh, but but that's not the point that I'm trying to make here. And let me make my point, okay?
Well,
With 17, and it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, to the Lord of hosts, even them that there shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not and have not rain, there shall be plague, wherewith the Lord smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So why is this so critical that they do this? Okay, I'll just give you my answer.
yeah.
Because I believe he will come, his first appearance in the New World to Zion will happen during the Feast of Tabernacles, and his appearance to the Jews again will repeat during the Feast of Tabernacles. He's going to come and tabernacle with them. See, and this will be when he comes to them. And then from then on, the Feast of Tabernacles is commemoration of the second coming,
Okay.
both events.
Okay.
Okay, both events. Okay, so we'll just do a quick summary here. The blood moon shall come first, and general or more darkness follows. 2. With the general darkness, the moon will not give its light. 3. The general darkness will cause the rainbow to cease temporarily. 4. The sign of darkness is associated with the coming of the Son of Man when the New Jerusalem, Zion, Holy City, God's tabernacle, etc., come out of heaven. And then in quotation marks there, I'm going to say that the building of the earthly New Jerusalem will commence with Enoch and his people showing us the way, showing us how it's done, because he's already done it, right?
Okay.
Okay. The sign of a day and a night and a day with no darkness is associated with the Lord's birth. Think of Samuel the Lamanite among the Jews. And then in Zachariah 14:6, when he returns to Jerusalem as their Messiah. Okay. And then number 6, would you read number 6 for us?
Zechariah 14:16. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Why? Because the Feast of Tabernacles will be the commemoration of the Lord's coming, both in Zion or America and at Jerusalem.
Okay. So that pretty much winds up what I had prepared for today. Any closing comments or questions?
I think you covered things pretty well, Frank.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll catch you all later when we after we do our next recording. Thanks for watching.